Good evening and welcome to Eye to Sky. I'm meteorologist Paul Collar from the National Weather Service here in Waterloo. And for the next 1 hour, we're going to discuss severe weather. We're going to discuss safety tips. We're going to discuss the modernization of the National Weather Service. We're going to take a look at the production When They Strike Again, which we aired last year. We're going to show that again to you a little bit later in the program. But right now, I'd like to introduce our wonderful panel of guests tonight. From KWWL Channel 7, we have Chief Meteorologist Craig Johnson, and we have Charlie Francisco from KWLO Radio and a former National Weather Service employee here in Waterloo. And last but not least, we have Ralph Robb, the former official in charge of the National Weather Service office in Waterloo. It's great to have all you guys here tonight. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by such stardom here. This is incredible.
Oh, gee, thanks.
It's really, really great. Now, what is this? 65,
So what do you want? Huh?
Yeah, 65 degrees today in International Falls. Now,
That's right.
we're not living right.
Apparently not. It doesn't happen that often up there. Well, Bismarck was 66, so it was a lot warmer up there than it was here.
And I guess the other big story today is some much-needed rainfall.
That's right. We had quarter to 3/4 of an inch of rain around the area, and I don't think too many people would complain about that.
And down to the south. What about
Way too
all
much,
the flooding
yeah,
down
way too
there?
much.
Jeez.
How about some warm weather, guys? Come on.
You got to drive to Bismarck.
21 years ago this morning, you was digging out from a the largest blizzard since I've been here in 22 years. So appreciate what we had today.
Okay.
And who would have thought that after last year, with all the rain that we had, and the flooding, that this year it would be such a smooth transition, from winter to spring. In fact, I got some numbers from the office today. In January and February of 93, now in January we had 58/100ths of an inch of precipitation in 93. In February we had 1.3 inches of precipitation. So combined January and February of 93, we had 1.88 inches of water and 21.8 inches of snow. Now that was leading into the flood of 93. Now here in 94, we had 1.22 inches in January and 0.94 in February. So we had 2.16 of liquid in January and February of 94, but the 32.5 inches of snow compared to 21.8 in 93. So we were setting ourselves up for a repeat of 1993, but the big story was March. 4 inches of water in 93 with 13 inches of snow. And in March of 94, just 16/100ths of an inch of water and a trace of snow. That's what saved us, I guess.
My back appreciated the lack of snow.
Jeez. I guess the other big story so far this year, not only for us, the lack of flooding when everyone was expecting it, but also in the southeast, March 27th, there was that deadly outbreak of tornadoes that killed many people down there in Piedmont, and it was just a terrible outbreak. The church was in Piedmont, I believe, that got
That's
struck
right.
and killed many people down there. And one of the things that was said was that they didn't get the warning. The warning was issued, but they didn't receive it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was issued a half an hour prior to the tornado striking the area. And it just was one of those unfortunate things where they were involved with Palm Sunday, and you'd have thought somebody in that congregation would have had the radio on en route, and the fellow that was killed in his automobile outside of church, you'd have thought that he might have had his radio on for whatever reason that he was in his car or vehicle. But to see that many people get killed, it's so sad. And as a matter of fact, 29 years prior to that, in 1965 on Palm Sunday, many tornadoes hit across the United States and over 200 people were killed. So Palm Sunday has become quite significant over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It really points up to how important it is to be aware of what's going on in the weather, because it's not that unusual to have people who are killed or injured in tornadoes being pretty much unaware. Many times if people are aware of what's going on and can follow some safety rules, that chances are they live through those or have only very minor injuries. So this was a case where some people were unaware of what was really going on, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
The best weather device going is a thing that was issued to every person. That's a pair of these. You can have the best radio, the best radar, the best spotter network, but you better keep your own pair of eyeballs trained on yonder horizon.
That's real good advice. You know, if you look out the window, it looks really bad, and you wondered, should I go to the basement? Maybe you should go to the basement and not worry about whether there's warnings out at the time.
That was something we were talking about the other day about this. People want to know that there's they want to have that perceived threat, or they want to know how it's going to affect them. And most people, want to know, how is this tornado going to affect me? I think it's a natural tendency to want to know, hey, is this in my backyard or not? And then the other thing that becomes a problem is the people running to get their camcorder to go and film this thing.
Well, once
that's
there's
a problem
tornado
too.
spotted, yes, but
Yeah.
there is a flip side to that. Over the years, we've received so many more tornado pictures and films of tornadoes to help us train people to look for a tornado. So there is a flip side to the people that go get their camcorders. And I know when I was going out and doing spotters training, as Charlie used to call it, horse and pony shows, dog and pony shows, excuse me, Chuck, that when we first started out, we had some slides and an old film that's still being used, Tornado: A Spotter's Guide. It's unfortunate we haven't got enough money in the government service to apparently to produce a new film. I realize the whole story is that, well, thunderstorms don't change, so all the data is good, but it sure would be nice to take out some 1970 tornado shots and things like that out of the film and be a little more modern.
Prior to the last year or two, most of the tornado pictures was what they saw when Dorothy got blown away in Kansas in The Wizard of Oz. And that was, believe me, that was true, strictly Hollywood.
Well, if we're real lucky, they'll spend some money on getting some more weather radio transmitters around the country, and this specific area message encoder on the weather radios. And it's going to be for TVs also, I guess, where when they issue a warning and it's for a specific county like Black Hawk County, they can just encode this. This will be encoded right in the warning, and it'll activate these weather radios that we have here tonight. This is a little pocket-sized one that has an alarm on it. Very, very useful, and gives you the weather information that you need.
Can take
And
that to the golf course.
That's very true. I have one in my car, and it's in my glove box, which I can't reach, but it's in my car. But anyway, and this is another type of weather radio, also with an alert. And this is just one of the ways that people are in the future are going to be able to get the message. I think they're programming now at least $30 million to get these systems upgraded. That we currently have weather radio, but there's only, they say it's 25% of the people have weather radios access, and I dare say that's an awful high number that they're saying in a percentage wise. I would think it'd be more like 10% of the population or less have weather radios. Maybe 25% know about weather radios, but in the future with FEMA and the National Weather Service, they hope to have it in hospitals, schools, businesses, people having it in homes, just like smoke detector. And cable systems are going to have the capability also with this specific encoder for messages of warnings, and of course the media is there right away anyway, especially like Channel 7 and 2 and 9. They get everything out immediately, or very, very same amount of time as when the National Weather Service issues a warning. So the point is, if with this new system that they're going to try to put in, that we'll maybe get more people aware and using this in their homes. We certainly hope we get their attention. I think it's very important.
Yeah. It's obviously an ideal situation to have a weather radio with you at all times. I mean, that would be living in a perfect world where you could, come on, but that's not to be expected.
I
But
can't get all the junk in my pockets now.
make them pager size, then you could wear them. But the bottom line is, a lot of people, when they are out, aren't aware of what is going on unless they have access to commercial TV and radio or weather radio.
And the information is available in a lot of places right now, but it will get better. In fact, like Ralph was talking about, ultimately you'd be able to encode maybe your county, and so that it would set off for just your county. You could do this at 2 o'clock in the morning, and so that you can go to bed with a little more comfort. I mean, right now, if you don't have a weather radio, or if you're out of range of one of those transmitters, middle of the night, you got to have a television or radio on or something like that. Or you can't go to bed. And we have people who call us up, wondering about, should I go to bed
Right.
at 2 or 3 o'clock in
And
the morning?
they're in the process of, this will put in 124 more weather radios around the country. And I don't know exactly who's going to be operating these, but there will be that many more at a cost of, I think it's $10 million. So they're not a cheap piece of gear anymore, and this is going to be the newer, fancier equipment. The stuff that the Weather Service is using now. What is it, Charlie? Late 70s that we got the weather radio?
Well, Waterloo office went online in the fall of '79.
Okay, that's what I thought. Something like that.
Winter of '79, we went online.
But Tom Skilling said it best, I think. And if the listeners don't know who he is, he's a highly regarded meteorologist out of WGN in Chicago, and he said nobody's going to come and ring your doorbell and tell you a severe storm is coming. And so by getting weather radio, by tuning in the proper television stations, listening to the guys in the know when the weather gets inclement, you'll be able to protect yourself better.
And Craig, you brought up a good point too about people wanting to know, hey, well, should I go to bed or not? And Charlie, we were talking about the Barneveld tornado, June 8th, 1984, at 10 to 1 in the morning when it roared through there. And you've heard some pretty nasty stories out of there.
Well, the watches were out. There was no warning out, and the watches was almost ready to expire, because at 2 in the morning or something like that, the watch was ready to expire. So they were sort of ignoring it. And the first indication they had was when the world started coming apart with a loud roar. And this man and woman each grabbed one of their children, and I have to make an assumption here, it was a split level they lived in. They both were headed for the safest area in the house. The father made it, and the mother didn't, as far as that area. And the mother was covering the child with her body as protection. And when the winds died down, and she got up, her hand was red and warm, and it was from the child's blood. As you know, a doorknob is you can take one knob off, and when you pull it out, there's that long spike that comes with the other one. That's what went in the child's head. Now, here was the mother protecting it, which incidentally, in protecting yourself in a tornado, this end really needs a protection. This will take a lot of punishment. I know. My father used to kick it around a 40-acre farm. But had that spike been driven in the child's rear end, he'd have been in the hospital and stood up to eat for a while, but it wouldn't have killed him. But that spike going in his head, so anytime, protect this end. You can walk up to somebody and do that and almost knock them out. So protect that end at all costs.
One thing, too, and in my mind, a watch is almost as important as a warning, in the sense that warnings are issued when something has been spotted, or something on radar is a very strong indication on radar of severe weather or tornadoes. But you still, as Charlie said, it's still your eyes that are the most important thing. And if it's looking really bad, I mean, that's when you take some action yourself and go to the basement or go to seek shelter. There isn't always going to be a warning out ahead of an event, and many times there is. In fact, the majority of times there is, but there are times when there won't be, and it's just critical that you remember that you're still responsible for yourself. And the warnings give information about what's going on, the watches give information, but when it comes right down to it, if it's looking bad, it's probably time to take action.
I think right here is the point when you're talking about watches. A watch means conditions are right for severe storms to occur, which include tornadoes. So it means the conditions are right. It doesn't mean there's anything occurring. So that's the time you want to start kind of putting it in your head that you got to be listening up now. If the weather starts to look bad, then you want to tune into somebody. I don't care who it is, but find out what the weather is. And the best way is one of the types of media that we have available to everyone.
the present system is, there's a lot of holes in it and a lot of things that needs repairing. But remember this, what is used today is less than 25 years old. And you can look at it this way, 25 years ago, very few people really knew what they was looking for, what to expect. The tornado that hit Charles City in 1968 was one of the very best reported, probably. It was reported, the warning was out, it was showing up on the Des Moines radar, and a highway patrolman followed it for several miles from south of town into Charles City, and it killed 14 people, which is the worst tornado that's occurred in Iowa in this century. And incidentally, at the time, there were some people I understand who lived in Charles City who did not believe a tornado would ever cross the Cedar River. Not only did that one cross the river, but it bent the railings on the bridge as it went by, I guess to show its contempt. And another point, that was the day Old Line got wiped out, and the Des Moines radar never seen that one, and it went right up Main Street of Old Line. And here that they was concentrating their effort in that area, and they never seen it. And
That's kind of out in the fringe of their radar, though, Charlie. That's
it's getting close.
about
but,
125 miles. From
But
Des
then
Moines.
people, the way people looked at things then is so much different than they are today. The first day was very little education was going on out in the country about what to look for, what to do. And of course, that was the days when they said, open the window. And now we say, oh, that's a no-no. That's a no-no. Is don't waste your time, for one thing. And besides, how'd you like to be standing there at the window when a 2x4 come roaring through at about 150 miles an hour? That would be more than a little oop. Believe me.
Well, even the southwest corner of the basement, too.
Oh, yeah, that's
There's
another
another
thing they've changed. That's the most dangerous place, or the southwest corner of the house.
Right.
The southwest corner of the basement might be so bad, but the southwest corner of the house, they told them to go there. That's the worst place in town to be.
Yeah, a lot of things have come to pass over the years that has changed the thinking of everybody. You know, now we say get to the lowest level of the house under some heavy furniture. Maybe if you have a split foyer home, I think under the stairwell is probably the best spot that you can possibly be. Stay away from chimneys. There's even been old chimneys in older houses that people have gone down in the basement and the chimney's fallen on the people. So, boy, there's a lot of things that you have to be aware of when it comes to storms and what to do. And you know, a lot of people are handicapped. Like, for example, my mother, for example, she couldn't get to the basement if she was paid. So the best bet for her is to get into a small center portion of the room closet, if there is one, or in the bathroom, in the bathtub, and cover up with blankets. And why we say cover up is because most people that are killed by flying projectiles. Mm-hmm. And you can't outrun a tornado, so don't try to do that either.
Yeah. One of the things I think people sometimes get confused is the difference between a funnel cloud and a tornado. Craig, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, strictly speaking, the definition of a tornado is a rapidly rotating column of air that extends out of a thunderstorm in contact with the ground. And we have pictures of tornadoes, and we don't even see a funnel cloud. You can see the dust whirling on the ground, but it's still a tornado whether you see a funnel cloud or not. So it's the fact that it's a rapidly rotating column of air out of the bottom of a thunderstorm in contact with the ground that makes it a tornado. Now, a funnel cloud is the cloud off the ground in the air, not touching the ground. It is, in fact, a tornado if you do have air rotating on the ground. You could have a funnel cloud. If you don't see any debris or something underneath that, then that would be a funnel cloud. If you see debris rotating underneath that, it would, in fact, be a tornado. When you have the cloud all the way on the ground, then you definitely have a tornado.
So it's important to keep in mind that even though the funnel cloud may not be visibly hitting the ground, that if you see debris there, that means that at least the circulation is making it all the way to
the cloud itself isn't really that important. I mean, it shows you what's there, but you could still have a very rapid rotation going on, even though you don't really have the cloud that's visible or one that's even touching the ground.
Charlie, wasn't it your saying about if it don't spin, don't turn it in? I think that was you that told me about that.
Well,
That's
that's one of the is if it don't spin, don't turn it in and don't worry about it. Because, well, there's another wind that, the one that tore the Waterloo Airport up in 1980. It was really a tornado in reverse. As a tornado, as it's spinning in and up, and the downburst, which got the Waterloo Airport, It's coming down and spreading out. And you can have straight line winds with downburst 150 miles an hour. That would be about the top maybe. But let me tell you something. Very few people have ever experienced an 80-mile-an-hour wind in their life. And of course, they base their experiences of what has happened to them. Around here in the spring, a 40 or 50-mile-an-hour gust, and they cannot believe that when it gets up to 100, you got 4 times the power hitting you. So, they ignore things like that. And of course, with a downburst, it will be on the ground and probably hitting you by the time you see it. And if you don't think it can do some damage, look what happened to Waterloo Airport in 1980. A series of them went through from Finchford out to Janesville. I'll get it right in a minute. Jessup out here east of town. There was a series of them, and there was considerable damage. But it is a reverse.
Downtown Waterloo, what is that, Lincoln Park?
Right, all the trees blown down
gee.
there.
And that really, everything was so soggy, that really wasn't extremely high winds that day, or nobody reported any. You were right across the street and
Well-
didn't have extremely high winds.
No, so I mean, and probably across the street it was probably over 80 mile an hour over there.
Could have very well
Easily.
been.
I mean, it was turning trees upside down. Of course, the ground was very wet too, so they kind of tip over. But well, we
A
had
lot of rain.
we had some people there standing at the front door and about got sucked out in the street because the whole door got thrown open. And
Is that right?
well, Liz Mathis was standing out there, and they had to grab her and pull her back in.
Did
She
it,
was trying to take
did it
pictures.
straighten her hair out or anything?
Well,
or?
it probably went straight out. Yeah, that was pretty scary because I mean,
Well,
it just
sure it
pulls the
would
door
be.
open.
Sure it would be. I understand that.
If you do have questions, call 273-8645. What we're going to do right now is take a look at a short film. It's called When They Strike Again. It was produced last year, and hopefully it'll answer some of the questions you might have about severe weather formation, safety, and also the modernization of the National Weather Service, which we will touch on when we get back after the film. So it's about 25 minutes. Enjoy it, and we'll have some more questions to answer and have more discussion after the film. It was June 16th, 1992, when a tornado traveled right here through the grounds of the Waterloo Airport and nearby subdivisions. Fortunately, no one was injured and damage was minor. More catastrophic tornadoes have struck Iowa in the past and will no doubt do so in the future. Not to be overlooked are the underrated killers such as flash floods and lightning. Preparation and education are both vital to survival, as these life-threatening weather hazards make an annual visit to Iowa. We truly must be ready for when they strike again. The day usually starts off with sunny skies and high humidity. Most Iowans are out and about enjoying what looks to be a super day. By around noon, clouds start building into the sky, which is the first visible clue that the atmosphere is unstable. As the afternoon wears on, the National Severe Storms Forecast Center in Kansas City, Missouri, monitors this instability for the possible development of severe weather. When conditions are ripe, the center will issue either a severe thunderstorm or tornado watch. Word of the watch is passed along to the Weather Service office in Waterloo. As this happens, all the local agencies team up to help keep you informed on the latest weather developments.
Merlin and Tim, come on over here. They're issuing a tornado watch. It's for eastern Iowa. We better get this thing out to the public and the media. And
The tornado watch is broadcast on NOAA Weather Radio to the affected counties of northeast Iowa. For those having a specially built-in alarm feature, a toned alert will be activated before the watch is read. Meanwhile, at KWWL Channel 7, meteorologists Craig Johnson and Jeff Kennedy look the situation over and are prepared for the worst. The watch box is prepared for an on-air broadcast by way of colorized computer graphics. With severe weather a potential threat to Black Hawk County, Ralph Robb makes a call to the Civil Defense Director, Gary Blair.
yeah, Gary, this is Ralph out at the weather office. Did you get a hard copy on that tornado watch?
Yeah, Ralph, I just got it in on the teletype now, so go ahead. What do you got?
We got thunderstorm development up around Mason City there. The storms are dropping southeast quite rapidly, and we need some spotters.
They're on standby right now.
Severe weather operations are now in full swing at the Civil Defense. At the Weather Service office, a watchful eye is staying close to the radar as some fairly strong storms are about to enter northwest Black Hawk County.
Ralph, I think you better come in here and look at this cell.
What's that thing doing there, Merlin?
Well, right now it's sitting in the southeast Butler County. We do have a warning out for a thunderstorm in that area. This cell will just start to move into northwest Black Hawk County. I think we better do something about this, think about getting a warning out for it.
What kind are we going to issue? That thing really looks bad.
Well, yeah, it does, and we got a signature there, the possibility of a funnel cloud or a tornado starting to form.
Okay,
there.
Gary Blair receives a critical report from one of his spotters that's been monitoring
ahead,
these
Mr. Blair.
storms.
Right? Okay, I'll call Weather Service right away. Thank you.
This report is then immediately relayed to the National Weather Service.
National Weather Service may help you. Yeah, Gary, what you got?
Got a spotter's report of a tornado on the ground in Finchford,
And the movement of that.
southeast at 30 miles an hour.
Okay, we're going to be coming out with a warning right away on it. Thank you. Ralph,
What do we got, Merlin?
that was Gary Blair. He's got a tornado on the ground at Finchford, moving to the southeast. I think we better go to the warning right away for the metro
Okay,
area.
I'll have him.
Within seconds, the outdoor warning system is put into action. At this point, the indoor warning system is activated. Word of the approaching tornado is passed along by way of a special radio frequency to various local businesses, hospitals, schools, nursing homes, and other buildings occupied by many people. The warning is then typed up on a computer and sent out to the media. At Channel 7, the warning is received on the weather wire. A special graphic is prepared to highlight the warning for a television broadcast on KWWL Channel 7. It will also be announced on FM radio stations KOEL and KKRQ. The Weather Service transmits the warning by way of NOAA Weather Radio to all the counties in the WXL 94 listening area.
Following location in northeast Iowa.
Did you know that at any one time there are as many as 2,000 thunderstorms occurring somewhere throughout the world? But the most severe are right here in the land in which we live. Tornadoes can occur at any time and in any place, with the prime area being east of the Rockies. Tornado activity peaks in the Gulf coastal states and Ohio Valley in April, and then shifts into the central and southern plains in May. In June and July, tornadoes occur most often in the northern plains, Great Lakes, and the Northeast. The worst single tornado in our country's history was the famous Tri-State Tornado, which occurred on March 18, 1925. It stayed on the ground for 219 miles, leaving 695 people dead and 11,000 homeless as it traveled through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. The most memorable outbreak of tornadoes occurred on April 3rd and 4th back in 1974. 148 tornadoes traveled through 12 states, leaving 309 dead, injuring over 5,000, and causing $600 million in property damage. Over the last 20 years, Iowa has averaged 38 tornadoes per year. 1990 was a record year with 71 twisters. However, no one was killed and only 17 were injured. In fact, the last tornado fatality was back in April of 1986.
But if you look at actual tornado frequency for 10,000 square miles, you find that Iowa is number 4 in the nation. And that does show we have a very big concern for our severe weather.
We often hear the term severe thunderstorm. What separates a severe thunderstorm apart from your average run-of-the-mill thunderstorm? If a thunderstorm contains 3/4-inch hail or larger, winds in excess of 58 miles an hour, or funnel clouds or tornadoes, then it is by definition a severe thunderstorm.
A number of ingredients must come together for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes to occur. Moisture flowing north from the Gulf of Mexico acts as the fuel for thunderstorms. Oftentimes you will hear the term dew point. This is used to quantify the amount of moisture in the air. A dew point of 55 or greater is a good indicator that enough moisture is present for the development of severe thunderstorms. As a low pressure system moves into the moist environment, it acts to lift the air, which leads to the initiation of thunderstorms. The most severe storms erupt when a jet stream at high altitudes overrides the moisture and cyclone, acting to lift the air violently, causing the storms to grow to mammoth proportions. It is this scenario that can oftentimes result in the production of some of the strongest tornadoes. As thunderstorms approach, the sky grows dark, and ominous-looking clouds appear on the leading edge. These low, oftentimes churning or rolling-looking clouds are not dangerous in and of themselves. They do, however, rotate on a horizontal axis from time to time. These are not tornadoes, nor do they produce tornadoes. More importantly, as these clouds pass a given area, winds can exceed 50 miles per hour and in some cases be as high as 100 miles per hour or more. The best way to estimate the speed of strong winds is to assess the resulting damage. After the leading low clouds pass, there will be a period of heavy rain, thunder, and lightning. The more severe storms can move at 50 miles per hour, so the duration of rainfall may be quite short. Located in the wake of the rain is the hail-producing part of the storm. You can estimate the size of hail by using these comparisons. Remember, 3/4-inch size hail constitutes a severe thunderstorm. If hail occurs at your location, then you are in the most dangerous part of the storm. The area where a tornado might develop is very nearby and would form from a rain-free lowering of the cloud base. This is a wall cloud and is usually at the southwest portion of the storm, and you can oftentimes see daylight as you look toward this feature, as it is found at the rear end of the storm. Notice how the rain is occurring in the far right or front portion of the storm, while the wall cloud is silhouetted against sunlight on the left or the rear of the storm. The wall cloud has to be monitored carefully, for if it begins to rotate, then a tornado may drop out of this feature within a matter of minutes. Here's a good example showing the rear location of the tornado within the storm. Note the sunlight and rainbow. These clouds are oftentimes mistaken for tornadoes. They represent an area of severe turbulence to pilots, but to the ground observer are not dangerous. A distant rain shaft can take the appearance of a tornado. Careful examination of this will show that it is not rotating, therefore not a tornado. You may see some fragmented low clouds while it is raining, and they can at times appear to swirl with differing air currents, but these are not dangerous, nor are they tornadoes. It can't be emphasized enough that the factor determining the presence of a funnel cloud or tornado is a vertically rotating wall cloud. This diagram puts it all into perspective. As the thunderstorm moves from left to right, you have the heavy rain, hail, and then the tornado. Would you know what to do if you found yourself in the path of a tornado while driving your car? The car is the absolute worst place you can be during a tornado. It offers no protection whatsoever. Cars are hurled like toothpicks, and the result is most often fatal to the stranded occupants. Ideally, a nearby building or solid structure would be the best place to be, but if there are none around, don't try to outrun the tornado. Get out of your car immediately and find a low spot such as a ditch or ravine. Create the lowest profile possible while covering your head. A bridge can offer more than adequate protection from a tornado. If you are in the vicinity of an overpass, park your car and take shelter. Once again, remember to cover your head. Historical accounts have shown that doing this can save your life. This is dramatic footage shot by a news team from Wichita that became caught right in the path of harm's way.
Watch faster, Greg. Sketching us. You gotta go, buddy. You gotta really go. Is that where we want to go?
Yes.
If you are at home, stay alert to the latest weather developments and be prepared to take action should a warning be issued. It is a good idea to have a weather radio with a specially built-in alarm feature. The best place to go during a tornado is the basement. Try and get under something sturdy, such as a stairwell. Protect yourself from flying debris by wrapping yourself in a blanket. If you have an old mattress lying around, use that as well. If your home doesn't have a basement, go to an interior closet or bathroom. Remember, in either case, make sure your head is shielded from potential flying debris. Getting under a table could offer you suitable protection, but with a window nearby, this would be strongly discouraged. Flying glass is a killer. Mobile homes offer absolutely no protection from a tornado. Best advice is to get out and move to your park's designated shelter area. One of the more underrated killers is flash flooding. This has been the deadliest weather feature in Iowa so far in the 1990s. 6 people have died in the first 2 years of the decade. Flash flooding in Iowa most often occurs at night when many are asleep and the dangers of flooding are obscured by darkness. People that live in flood-prone areas should remain alert during nights when heavy rains are expected. Always know the elevation and flood history of your property or campsite in relation to nearby streams. Plan in advance where you should go if water levels rise. Never drive on a road or bridge covered by flowing floodwaters. It only takes 2 feet of water to send even large cars floating downstream. In this video, daring rescuers come to the aid of a stranded motorist and his child. Many of us underestimate the lightning bolt, but looking at the history books, it is something we truly should not overlook. In the last 20 years, 32 Iowans have lost their lives from lightning, which is higher than that of tornadoes and a little more than 3 times the killer than flash floods. The best course of action to ensure your safety is to get inside a home, a large building, or an automobile. Use the phone only if it's absolutely necessary. A golf course has proven to be deadly when it comes to lightning. If you are golfing and a storm is approaching, go to the nearest shelter. Take off your golf shoes and stay away from motorized golf carts. If you are caught out in the open, stay away from tall isolated objects such as trees. Try and get to the lowest place possible, such as a ravine. Stay away from open water, metal farm equipment, motorcycles, clotheslines, and metal pipes. If you are in a group of people, say watching a golf tournament or on a camping trip, spread out and stay several yards apart. If you are caught in the open and feel your hair stand on end, lightning may be about to strike. Assume a crouched position, having as little contact as possible with the ground. Do not lie flat. Current radars within the National Weather Service use technology dating back to World War II. These can detect only 5% of all tornadoes. A new and much improved radar system has been developed, which measures not only the precipitation within a storm, but also the wind flow. The next generation weather radar, the WSR-88D, will take us into the 21st century.
And what it does is it'll measure whether those raindrops or snowflakes are either coming towards the radar or away from the radar. So it's determining motion of rain or snow inside the thunderstorm or the cloud. And by doing that, we can tell a lot of different things. But the most important thing is wind speed and direction. And what we're looking for, obviously, in severe weather is if we're having a spinning motion associated with the initial formation of a tornado. So in severe weather, that's what we're looking at.
In addition, a new computerized weather observing system will be deployed. This is called ASOS, for Automated Surface Observation System.
This will be installed across the state of Iowa as well as the entire nation within the next few years. Now, it sounds like a fairly simple system, something to measure temperature, rainfall, winds, but actually for over 150 years, we've had a human weather observer actually going outside, looking at the sky, taking weather readings from instruments. And over the next couple of years, I think we will see further benefits. One of the obvious benefits is that a weather observer does not stand outside 24 hours a day. He might go out once an hour or several times an hour to see what is happening, whereas a computer can take weather observations almost continuously. It's almost impossible to have someone at every single city or every single location. We have very sparse reporting observation locations right now. With ASOS, we'll have more locations, not just here in Iowa and surrounding states as well.
Along with the upgrade in radar and observing technology, meteorologists will have a super workstation called AWIPS that will greatly improve forecasting capabilities.
So what AWIPS will do, and that stands for Advanced Weather Interactive Processing System, what that system will do will tie everything together. It'll tie satellite data, it'll tie radar data, it'll tie surface observation data, and all of our other data that we use. It'll tie it all together so that the meteorologist can make more sense of this tremendous amount of data that is going past him.
This high-tech equipment heads what the National Weather Service is calling modernization, and modernization is coming to Iowa. There are presently 4 offices within the state that issue warnings for Iowa's counties. These are located in Des Moines, Waterloo, Sioux City, and Dubuque. As you can see by the color shade, each office is responsible for a portion of Iowa. A few Iowa counties are covered by offices in adjacent states. These are located in Omaha, Sioux Falls, and Moline. This is all going to change, though, and change is definitely in the wind at the state's main forecast office in Des Moines. A move to the new modernized office will be coming up in June.
Anchoring one of these offices, we plan on reducing some of the other offices that will not be getting Doppler weather radars. And I think what we'll see over a prolonged period of time is that where there's a Doppler radar system, those offices will be expanding, increasing the technology, and picking up greater areas as this technology is implemented.
As part of modernization, offices in adjacent states to Iowa will receive the same state-of-the-art equipment and assist Des Moines in the warning responsibilities of Iowa's counties. In and around Iowa, the timetable for installation of these radars will be as follows. Des Moines will be up October of 1993. Sioux Falls goes into operation November of 93. In May of 1994, Omaha will have their Doppler. Minneapolis in July of 94. The Quad Cities, November of 94. And finally, La Crosse goes into service October of 1995. The forecast and warning responsibility will shift to the Doppler radar sites. La Crosse will cover northeast Iowa. Davenport Moline will oversee the east central and southeast sections of the state. Central Iowa will belong to the Des Moines office. Sioux Falls will inherit northwest Iowa, while Omaha monitors the southwest sections of the Hawkeye State. As these new modernized offices become fully operational, the smaller offices as we know them will close.
Once everything is in, once it's tested, once we have training of the staff, and once it's commissioned, which will take many years to do all this, at that point we can begin to shift the function to these new warning forecast offices. And I think that'll be at least the mid-1990s, the 96 or 97 frame, before we can really begin to see that transfer begin to take place.
The closure of these smaller offices will mean absolutely no loss of service to the communities involved.
One of the most important factors that I have to look at before I can certify a system is that the service that we're providing to one of these communities, Waterloo, Sioux City, or Dubuque, is at least the same after we would reduce an office as it was before. We have to at least have the same amount of service, and once again, I think we'll have better service.
We are heading for the 21st century with a new wave of forecasting capabilities. It's a time for renewal and a time of positive change. But through it all, we are still going to need trained weather spotters. This will never change, as no man-made machinery can ever replace the human observer's view of nature.
Well, we have some good questions here, which we're going to try and answer here. If you do have any questions, call us, 273-8645. First question, does anchoring a mobile home to the ground protect it from a tornado?
Unqualified, no. First of all, mobile homes are not constructed as well as site-built houses. They, even if you tie one down, it very easily will collapse since they're not. And the figures are bearing that out rather well. The number of deaths each year from tornadoes is approaching 50%. The towns that don't have mobile home deaths, usually it's because they have no mobile home courts. The same safety precautions in a mobile home you should take as if you're in an automobile or in the open or whatever. Get out.
Next question, why should you stay off of a phone during an electrical storm?
Obviously, you could probably get electrocuted. I know a lot of people like to get on the phone. As a matter of fact, I've often thought about that when we worked at the weather office for all those years. And here we're on the phone calling all over to try to get reports, and we're talking maybe to the media and to FEMA and to different counties, and the thunder and lightning going on, and we're just continuing on, and we really shouldn't have been on the phone. We could get electrocuted. So the best thing to do is just stay off the phone and you should actually unplug your major appliances too in an electrical storm. Yeah, I wanted to say television, but he kicked me in the leg.
All right. How about if you're driving in your car and a tornado comes, what should you do?
Well, if it's a long ways away and it's going the other direction, you turn around and drive the other way. If it's close to you, and I would say if you're within 3 miles of something like that and it's coming at you, you're better off out of your car and in a ditch somewhere, or in a safe structure of some sort, a safe building. And again, that's kind of a judgment thing, but I wouldn't try to outrun a tornado, and I wouldn't try to judge its directions if you're close to it, because they do turn, they do change direction. So if you're close at all, you're better off being out of your vehicle and in a safer place, a ditch or a depression or in a building somewhere.
Okay.
Well, the reason for that too is, think of it this way, is the reason for the basement and the ditch and all is, if you thought of this as the surface of the earth, and this applies basement and all, if you're in a ditch, you're down here, the winds are blowing over you. If you're in the basement, you're down here, the winds are blowing over you, and so you wouldn't be hit by any of this debris. It would be passing over you, and if you get in that ditch, protect your head.
Along that line too, there's some video that was out of the tornado that went along the interstate highway, and the two reporters were trying to shoot the thing out the window. In fact, I think you had it in this, in the sequence you had just a few minutes ago. If you look closely, and you have to have it pointed out, if you look closely, one of the last shots looking underneath that bridge is the tornado approaching, and there's a car or a van that's actually flipping around the front of it into the highway, and you can see it actually being blowing and rolling around the front of that tornado.
Okay, we have another good question here. Are there certain characteristics in the weather before a tornado hits?
Oh, that's most thunderstorms and squall lines, and generally that's where what'll be coming through first is look the same. Thunderstorms are basically the same in nature. The difference is being that as the first thing you're going to see is that nasty looking dark shelf cloud, and it'll get dark out, and boy, it just looks bad. But actually, this is where you could get wind, and behind it you'll have rain and straight line winds, where Charlie says they could go up to 150 miles an hour. I think the figure in 1980 was 104.8 at the airport. But getting back to a tornado, Then you're going to get back into the hail portion of the storm. Now, when you get in the hail portion of that storm, you're getting near the most dangerous part of that thunderstorm. And it's after the hail, or even in the hail sometimes, that the tornado and funnel clouds are going to occur. And it should be generally on the rear end of the storm as it's coming through. So you're going to have a lot of different elements pass over you before the tornado actually strikes your site.
What about the sky turning yellow? That has to do with hail, right?
The colors that you see in the sky, they're basically all deal with light and the amount of light hitting it, sun, whatever you want to say, but that's all that is. There are white tornadoes, there are black tornadoes, and sometimes that has to do with what's in the tornado itself, but basically it's a light thing.
It's quite possible if you could station cameras on 4 sides of a tornado and instantaneously take pictures, you'd swear there was 4 different storms because they will appear different from whatever angle, and mainly due to the amount of light that's being able to come in. And at night, you're not going to see anything anyway. As a matter of fact, lightning and hail at night are your 2 best guides. That'll be your only light source at night. And when the hail gets bigger than this little teeny pea size, might be time to head for the basement anyway.
Good
That's
advice.
very true.
Well, next question here. Besides the fact that hurricanes are on water, what is the difference between a hurricane and a tornado?
How much time do we have?
Well, you're allotted
take all the
whatever you
time.
want.
Essentially, a tornado is associated with one
TVs.
thunderstorm or a series of thunderstorms, but it's definitely associated with a thunderstorm. Where a hurricane is something that forms over tropical waters, warm waters. Like in the Gulf of Mexico late in the summer, it's not unusual for water temperatures to be around 88, sometimes 90 degrees. And so a hurricane is a much larger storm. It could be a couple hundred miles across. It essentially is a collection of thunderstorms rotating around a center. There's thunderstorms in it, heavy rain showers. The strong winds are associated with the rotation of that whole hurricane. Where a tornado occurs on a much smaller scale, it has nothing to do with warm water. It uses very warm, moist air at the surface of the earth, and usually has cool and dry air aloft over it, and is associated with that one thunderstorm. So a lot of times you get the question like, well, which one's worse? Well, a hurricane causes a lot more damage over a wider area. You can usually see it coming for a longer time in advance, sometimes days, and where a tornado is something that happens in a matter of a few minutes, and it can cause complete destruction in a small area.
Plus, there's a great number of tornadoes that occur with hurricanes because they're just a collection of thunderstorms. And apartment complex was wiped out. One that I saw was on this. It was completely blown away, and they figured it was a tornado that did it because the damage, or what it took to tear this apartment complex up, compared to what the other damage was, is there was a tremendous amount more wind. So you have them with it.
Yeah, it's not unusual to have tornado watches associated with hurricanes.
Sometimes run for 12 hours too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we have another question here. How do you go about predicting the temperature daily? Charlie, you probably have some old rules of thumb you use, right?
Well, I tell you, predicting the daily high and low temperature is the rules that you use in the winter change in the summer. And the things that are factored into that even change if it's a wet period, if you got wet ground, dry ground, the wind direction, expected cloud cover. There is a great number of factors that go into it. You couldn't say, okay, is you use this and this to come up with the temperature. There's just too many factors go into it. Cloud cover, if it's going to be raining, what the wind is doing. So you really couldn't say any one thing.
Yeah, probably the most simplistic way of looking at it is saying you have to see what air mass is coming your way, say for the next day, and what the temperatures are like within that. But as Charlie was saying, changes in cloud cover, changes in moisture, what your local conditions are like play a major role in that.
And how much the air mass modifies it, moves it, is really predicting the temperature is one of the more difficult items that,
Yeah, you can look bad in a hurry, can't you?
that may be why they give you a little more fudge factor with it.
Okay. Good question here. How much do weather radios cost, and where can you buy them? Ralph?
Well, weather radios are rather inexpensive. These two that I was talking about, this one will run right around $20. Some unit like this will probably run around $40. Varying in price. They can be purchased out of catalogs. There's some local stores here in town. I'm not affiliated with the government any longer. I can say Radio Shack. Used to be I couldn't say that, but I can say it now. I guess if I was looking for a weather radio and I didn't want to run around all over the country trying to find one, I'd go down to Radio Shack because that's the place that has the most models and they're available. I haven't seen them for sale any
And
other
the
place.
price range is, they have a rather,
No, well, you shouldn't buy one without the alert on it. I mean, it's pointless to buy a weather radio if it has no weather alert on it because it'll alert for 8 counties in northeast Iowa. So even if it goes off and you say, well, that's a false alarm, if you listen to it, it'll tell you the county that the warning has actually been issued for. So it's not specific for Black Hawk alone. It includes 7 other counties.
and if you get one that, for AC, make sure it has a battery backup because remember, power lines come down in
That's true.
severe weather.
That's true.
And in the winter, in ice storms, they've been known to fall too.
That's a good point. Ralph, this is probably a question that you can handle best here is how important is the federal budget deficit to the financing of National Weather Service operations?
I would say on the total picture, it's a speck, the budget for the National Weather Service operations. When I started, for example, there were 5,000 employees in the National Weather Service, and this was many back in the 60s. When I retired this January, there were probably 4,000 or a little over 4,000. So actually, we had less employees working for us, and I guess it probably cost you about $1 a year as an individual to run the National Weather Service. I think that's the last figure I
That's
have.
the last figure I heard was, it would cost $1 a household for the federal income tax you pay. $1 a household goes toward the National Weather
I
Service
think
operation.
it's very, very worthwhile and gives you a lot of information. And I guess as I look at it, the thing that, not because I was in the Weather Service or dealt with weather all these years, I think for your money, that's one of the federal services that's probably the best buy for your dollar that you get because it concerns you every day. Let's say in the wintertime when you get up, what are the kids going to wear? What are you going to wear? You listen to the forecast before you go to bed at night. You say, okay, this is what I've got to do and be prepared for tomorrow. Maybe you're going golfing. Maybe you're going camping. And whatever you're doing, everything is just about based on that weather forecast. And
This program was produced by the Cedar Falls Cable Television Commission in cooperation with the National Weather Service office in Waterloo.